So one night I'm in a dark and dingy bar in New York, and I'm reaching into the cooler to get a six-pack of beer for takeout. And I turn around, and this woman that I vaguely remember looks at me and she goes, "Randy?" And I'm like, "Yes." And as soon as she starts to talk to me, I recognize her voice. And I'm like, "Carol, how are you?" And she gives me a big hug, and it was kind of an emotional moment. I hadn't seen her in quite a few years. And I said, "How's your son?" And she said, "He's doing really well. He's so much better now that he's in the state penitentiary." And I was a reporter at the York Daily Record covering the case that put her son into the state penitentiary. He was part of a group of guys who, on one horrible night, back on a Friday night when the Strip used to be the Strip and hundreds of people would go, cruising, one night this group of friends just decided to jump another group of people who were out there. And her son just hauled off and punched one kid in the face, and by all accounts in the trial, the kid was knocked unconscious when he got hit, and he just fell over. And the fight went on, and everybody started to run away, and one person in the group, not Carol's son, but another person in the group, ran back, and he said to his friends, "Hey, check this out." And he ran back, and he jumped up in the air, and he put his feet together, and he came down on the kid's head. Should have killed him. It's amazing that he didn't kill him. But for about a year, I covered the story of that person's recovery and of the trial involving all of these different people. Fun fact, the only person in the group who was not convicted was the person who jumped on the guy's head. He was the only one who got cleared. He's also the only one who didn't use a public defender. But as much as I covered that story, putting this woman's son's name in the paper again and again, telling to the best of my ability the truth about everything that happened there that night, it was amazing to me as a reporter that years later she would embrace me and be happy to catch up with me and talk to me about where her son was now. I learned over many years at the newspaper that that's about a 50-50 thing that can go on. You can have a wonderful relationship develop with somebody coming out of the coverage, or you can have a lot of hard feelings that develop. I had one death threat that I had to deal with. We actually had to call the police and have them contact this person who had assured me that if I mentioned his wife's name in our coverage again, he would hunt me down and kill me. And he was a guy who had done quite a few years in the state penitentiary himself before he got out. So we had to deal with that. A lot of hard feelings in that one. There was an attorney in town who used to advertise on the back of the phone book. And we covered him a lot. Like, there were a lot of stories that we covered about him before he ended up in the state penitentiary. But and he would routinely call us up in the office and scream and yell at us. By this point, I'm an editor, and he's screaming at me. And one night, he's just absolutely assuring me that he is going to sue me for everything that I've got. He's not only going to sue the paper, he's going to take everything that I've got. Wait a second, I'm not doing a very good job. I'm going to take everything that you have from you, everything. Very high-pitched, screamy voice, and I'm just holding the phone out here. And finally, I just explained to him, said, "Look, I work for the York Daily Record. There's not that much to get, man. Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen." But there's it's just a lot of interesting relationships that we manage over time. And I think the most difficult relationship that I had to manage was with York's police chief, Bill Hose. When I started as a reporter, the first story that I was assigned that I needed to cover resulted in a headline, a 6-column headline on the paper that used to be about this wide. Hard to imagine, but it used to be like this wide. And it explained that there were 97 counts of police abuse filed against the city police department with the federal government by Randy Parker. First time my byline appeared up there, by Randy Parker. Every cop in the county hated me. They didn't want to have anything to do with me. I had to dig, and look, it happened, right? The complaints had been filed. It needed to be reported, but I had to dig myself out of that hole. And Bill Hose did not want to have anything to do with me. I was just another reporter that was out to make trouble for his police department. And I really had to work hard for a long, long time to try to gain his trust. And I think by the time I was done being a reporter, that had happened. But then over the many years and the different positions that I held at the York Daily Record, he was not happy with me at all for a number of the things that we covered. And there were times that he would call me up, and I think this was good that he felt comfortable enough to call me up and have this one-on-one conversation with me and read me the riot act and just make it very clear to me that he thought that we were out of line, that that was unfair. I thought you were better than that. I mean, I felt like my dad was scolding me, and there were some really difficult conversations like that. And then in 2022, after more than 30 years at the Daily Record, I decided it was time for me to retire. And the Daily Record did a story about that. And out of nowhere, at home, I get a call on my cell phone, and I answer it, and it's Bill Hose. And Bill Hose just wanted to tell me, congratulations, good luck. And you know what, reporter? You were one of the good ones. And I got to tell you, my wife was looking at me like, is something wrong? Because I was sitting there, I was crying, because it really did feel like, redemption, kind of in a familial way. I worked so hard on that relationship, and to hear that from him at the end of my career just felt great to know that there were absolutely no hard feelings there.